Good afternoon, everyone. Before we go into today's PowerPoint presentations, this is a reminder for Raffles University students who registered for PDS. In order to get PDS credit, you all need to share this webinar to your FB. You need to type something at least for one in a comment box into our FB when each group is presented. There will be three groups to perform today. So now, Malaysia is well known for a multilingual country, housing speaker of approximately 137 languages. The Bahasa Melayu language is the national language of this country. Beside that, Tamil, English, Mandarin also commonly spoken languages in this country. As a result, Bahasa Rojak and Mandarin was being used by Malaysian in their conversation. So what is Bahasa Rojak and Mandarin? For that, let's welcome Group 1 consists of Miss Shankitana Raji Chandran, Miss Belinda Lee Chen Moon, and Miss Roshini Devi Anna Perempuan Dravindran to present their PowerPoint presentation regarding it.
Okay, hello everyone. A very good afternoon. So today, me and my group, we are the first group and we are going to present about something very fascinating and exciting about Malaysia. So it's more to like sharing with you guys about the uniqueness of Malaysia. So next slide. Okay, so ta-da! This is our topic for today. We are going to talk about language. Okay, so as we know, there are many races in Malaysia, and that's the best part about it because in every countries, one country, one race. But in Malaysia, we have three races. So our country has many races, and therefore we have many languages, and it goes on and on. We have many types of cultures, traditions, different type of traditional food, clothing, festivals, and it goes on and on. This is a very general fact about Malaysia, whereby we have Malays, which is known as the Bumis, the Bumi Putras, and then we have Chinese and also Indians. These are the three main races in Malaysia. Apart from that, we also have Sabahans, Sarawakians, Philippines, and then we have Nepalis, Bangladeshis who are working here as labor, but they are the minority in Malaysia. So, not to be ashamed of, but the Malaysia government actually has a very big heart to accept native workers to work here as a labor, because not all countries would accept foreigners to work in their country without a proper visa and education. So this is one of also the best part of Malaysia, and I'm personally very proud to be a Malaysian. So next slide. Okay, guys. So for further elaboration, more to like for further excitement, because we're going to have lots of fun today, I'm going to play a short video on the uniqueness of language. This video is taken by me, Roshni, and Blinda, my group. We did not meet up and record the video because it's the pandemic season, and also due to safety purposes. So we actually took this video respectively in our homes. So hope you guys enjoy the video. So sorry, we're actually having a technical issue. Can you guys give us like 2 minutes? We will come up with the sound.
Man, what? What? You don't know what that means, huh? Yes, I am in Malaysia, but I was in US for 10 years, remember? So I'm not aware of this kind of, I don't know, language. Oh, yeah, lah. I just remember you're from US, right? There for 10 years ago. Oh, yeah, you forgot where, It's okay, lah. We can learn, Okay, I will teach you. Very easy. Oh my god, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I would love to learn again. Yes, please. Don't worry about it, okay? We go and eat now. I'm very hungry. Let's go,
Eternity later.
Okay, we just at the restaurant now. Okay, what food you want, okay? Rose, what's the menu? Here, no menu, okay? Okay, so there's no menu. So how do you order the food then? We just order. You know what food we have? We usual Chinese food. Just order. I give you some recommendations, okay? I see. Okay. Don't worry, I'm not okay. Order any Chinese food you like. Oh, okay. I would like to have some class noodle. Apa tu? Oh, auntie, dia nak mihun goreng. Auntie? She's your auntie? Huh? No. She's not my auntie. We just call her like that. No respect, auntie. It's like my auntie, but not real auntie. Okay, so satu minit. Okay, so you nak apa? Oh, no thank you. I don't want pork. I don't need pork. Thank you. Oh, dia tak nak banget. Jadi, saya nak nasi goreng. Okay. So, you nak tapau ke makan sini? Yo, new experience at the car. You want to eat at the car? Minum. Anyway, I would like to have a cup of tea, please. Okay. So, what jenis I mean, what kind of tea? Just tea. There is a lot of tea, such as teh tarik, teh halia.
Much later, that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one.
Oh my, that's a lot. Okay, so which one would you recommend me? Actually, all of them taste very good, but we start from basic today. Auntie, we will order dua teh tarik kurang manis. Okay. Whew. Looks like I've missed out quite a lot. It's okay lah, you learn on your own time, okay? Don't worry. Welcome to Malaysia. You could enjoy this.
Okay, so before I start, so sorry for the technical issue just now. Okay, hope you guys have a clear vision about the video and what we are going to present actually for today. Okay, so we shall start. Malaysia was under British control until it achieved independence in 1957. We all know that it's a Malaysian history. So the Malay language then became the official Malaysian language chosen by the government. However, in order to be on par with other developed countries like US, Australia, UK, Japan, China, okay, so in order to be on par with those developed countries, Malaysia still places a very heavy emphasis on the use of English language. Malaysia is also a multiracial society which is strongly bounded by its system of monarchy. The largest portion of this population, however, is Malays. Therefore, the most frequent language used among us Malaysians is Malay because Malay is our mother tongue. So we actually use Malay very often. English in Malaysia is also regarded as a second language that is most commonly used for advertisement, academic settings, and many other purposes. So to make our lives easier, effective communication is very necessary. The way of talking has been evolved since back then until now. It started on smartphones with conventional smoke signals. Also, mass media technology, which uses informal language, has evolved and increasingly influenced how individuals interact. So, in most casual forms through social media, they often use unorthodox structure. So, examples of unorthodox structure is dialects. We have abbreviations, trendy jargons, symbols, and mixing of language. So, specifically in Malaysia, code switching generally occurs between Malay and English, commonly referred to as Manglish. Okay, so these are the examples of jargons. If you guys were wondering what jargon is, so these are the examples of jargons. Okay, so I think you guys are aware of all the jargons here except for Shuban. Shuban is husband, because I didn't know what Shuban was. I had to Google and ask around. So that's when I know Shuban means husband. And then you alls and I alls is actually not a grammatical slang, it's actually you alls is you and all of you guys, and I alls means including myself. So we say you alls and I alls. And then we have miss call, guys, check it out, okay, like the other jargons are all very commonly used by us. Usually when we are talking, when we are communicating with someone, we wouldn't really realize that they're using this kind of jargons, but it's very obvious when we actually type it out. Okay, so next slide please. Okay, so other than jargons, there are also Manglish and Bahasa Rojak. Manglish may be seen as coming under the umbrella word, which is also known as the salad language. It's like a direct translation, Bahasa Rojak and salad language. Okay, so it is identified that Bahasa Rojak is a hybridity, that it is so normative that it has become a community as a consequence of the language in communication to which Malaysians are familiarized with. For an example, the word matcha. Okay, so matcha is a Tamil word. So I use it among my friends because I'm an Indian, right? So I use matcha, like, hey matcha, how are you, like that. But not only my race use it, Chinese use it, Malay use it. So we are all, we know what matcha is, even though it's a Tamil word, but yet we all race tend to use it. So Bahasa Rojak is theorized as an example of metrolingualism, because when talking about racial, political, and cultural difference, it becomes very obvious that the potential resources available to individuals may be extremely varied. And the idea of Bahasa Rojak is strategic, resourceful, and very versatile. So in an article, it actually said that those Malaysians who actually communicate with Bahasa Rojak and Manglish, they actually feel very confident and very comfortable when they are communicating. Even during presentations, sometimes presentations usually it has to be formal, but sometimes we just accidentally, it comes in a flow, and then we accidentally say any Manglish or Bahasa Rojak word, like you accidentally say, y'all know, right? Yeah lah, like that lah. It's very common because we communicate like that since young, in our house, in our home, and then maybe in school with our friends, relatives. It's very common among us. So that's why it would boost our confidence, and we would feel very comfortable when we communicate in English and Manglish and Bahasa Rojak. So the next slide please. Okay, so this is an example of a Malaysian talking in Manglish. So as you can see here, we have Tamil, we have Chinese, and we have Malay also. Matcha, like I mentioned just now, is a Tamil word, and then makan is Malay, and tapau is Chinese. So I think this sentence is very often used by all of us, right? I think that you guys would agree with me. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the next slide is the example of Manglish used. Maybe you guys can tell me if the meaning of the word of the word and the example is related or not. So firstly is la. La usually we use it very often, definitely, and usually it's at the end of any sentence with an exclamation mark. Okay, so when it comes to na, na is like you're giving something to someone. So nah, take it lah. It's like in Chinese you use, Indians also we use Chinese, Indians, Malays. Yeah, all the races we use. Nah, take it lah. In Tamil also, nah. We say okay, take it in Tamil is எடுத்துக்கோ. So we say na எடுத்துக்கோ, like that. Then in Chinese also, na they should say na. Okay, yeah. And then the third one is law. Law is like you are giving someone an information when you already know about it, like you're aware of that and you're telling someone. So example, like I'm telling someone like that long, yeah long, you already know that, but that person don't know, so you say law. Okay, and then we have one is used to emphasize at the end of the sentence. And then we have God. God in Malay is ada. So God also we use it quite often, but God is an English word, but we sometimes we use it as Manglish, like as you can see the example, you got anything to do where God. Where God is not a proper English sentence, but then we use it, where God, like that. Okay, then we have meh. Meh is like you're asking someone a question, so you go like, God meh, really meh, you're asking. Usually meh comes with a question mark. And finally liao. Liao is already, it's a Chinese word actually. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so this slide shows the comparison between Manglish and English. Okay, so, okay, I will say out Manglish and English, and then you guys see the intonation, the difference of intonation. Okay, the first one, what lah you? In English is how could you? Got or not? Do you have it? Where got? I don't believe it. Like you see, the intonation is totally different. When it comes to Manglish, it sounds, it sounds like easygoing. It sounds friendly. But then English, right? It sounds very formal. Like you're like the professional, super classy girl who only speaks in super duper proper English. Like you are the prim and proper type. So that's the difference between Manglish and English. That's why, like I mentioned just now, it is said that if you communicate in Manglish, you feel like not very heavy. You feel fine. Like to say in Manglish, you will feel very chincai, like oh okay lah, can lah, like that. Okay, next slide. Okay, so Manglish speakers from the various ethnic group of the country prefer to intersperse. Intersperse as in scatter. Okay, so scatter various phrases or exclamation from their mother tongue. The term la, okay, I have, there were many examples before this, like I mentioned just now, got la, law, man, all that. But I chose la because we all use la, like all of us use la. So I thought of, going in depth with la. So the term la in Manglish is very prevalent. Notice that for clarification, la is always written after a comma, but there is never a pause before it. This is because la is appended to the end of the word in the original Malay and is not a separate word by itself. So in Malay, la, the word la is used to transform a verb into a command to soften its tone. Like I mentioned just now, when I said in Manglish and English, the intonation was totally different. And to be honest, it has emotions. When I said in Manglish, right, I sounded so friendly, I sounded so nice, but when I actually said in English, I sounded so stern. I don't know, but maybe, I don't know, I just felt it that way. Yeah. So for an example, now I'm in a mama restaurant and I'm with my friend. So if let's say I use the English, right, I use English term, I would say, here, drink this. It sounds so formal, but I'm with my friend. If let's say I want to say in Manglish, then I would go like, drink lah. It sounds so friendly. It sounds so nice. Like my friend would feel so comfortable with me. That's for sure. Yeah. So, but among other races in Malaysia, Chinese also has the influence in Manglish, and it can be seen very obviously. Like sometimes we say in English we say die. In Chinese they say Gigi liao, Gigi liao. They say like that. I'm an Indian, but I still use it. I use it very often with my Chinese friends. So you see, it's very obvious. It is the predominant preference of the speakers. So Manglish differs from standard English in terms of pronunciation and intonation, like I mentioned just now. If you speak in Manglish, you would sound friendlier, easygoing. But when you speak in English, you would be, like so stern, like so professional, like that. Yeah, and sometimes this can affect communication as well. So, okay, affect the communication as in we have positively and negatively. So positively means, right, like I mentioned just now, you would feel confident and you would feel very comfortable to actually talk to someone, to interact with someone in Manglish. But if you want to see in a negative way, so for an example, a foreigner comes to you and he asks you, where is the washroom, can I know where's the washroom, and then you would go like, washroom ah, you go straight then you turn left lor, like that. So if let's say he's it's his first time to come here in Malaysia, he might feel offended, like what is that, what kind of slang is that. Sometimes they would feel offended because they don't know what it actually means. But if let's say they know, they're aware of all the slangs we use in Malaysia, then it shouldn't be a problem. No, oh no, last slide, sorry, the last point. Okay, so those, the word those is actually pronounced as those, but then we Malaysians would say it as those, D-O-Z. So sometimes we won't realize it. Even I didn't realize it when I actually presented this to my friends. If anyone asks me how to pronounce this, I would say those. But when I'm talking, like normally talking to someone, then I would go like, those guys are like that. Somehow the Manglish will come into my life. This those, you see, those and those, totally different pronunciation. Yeah. So as a result of the era of colonization, Manglish is very similar to British pronunciation, apparently. Manglish has many words and phrases from Malay, Chinese, and Tamil, because we have three races, right? Three main races. So that's why, all the races, different languages, we all, mix all together. And tada, we have Bahasa Rojak. And other languages from vocab, and even a compound of words from various origins. Okay, next slide. So this is the last slide from me. This is about the composition of Malaysian ethnic in 2017. This was the most updated version that I could find. So according to this pie chart, the percentage of Malays is definitely the most, because this is a Malay country. So it is 61.7%, followed by Chinese 20.8%, and then others, meaning the combination of Sabahan, Sarawakians, like I mentioned earlier just now, Philippines and Nepalis, all of the other races. So it's 11.3, and finally Indians as the minority with 6.2%. So just as a clarification to you guys, I've mentioned earlier that the minority was others, the others category, but in this pie chart in 2017, it shows that the minority is Indians, because Indians is just one race, right? But when it comes to others, there are so many races. We have Sabahan, Sarawakians, Nepalis, Philippines, Bangladeshis, we have so many, and all of them are the labor workers here. So that's why, yeah, that means there are more labor workers here compared to Indians, according to this pie chart. Okay, so now that's all from me. Now Roshni will take charge of the upcoming slides, followed by Belinda. Thank you so much for lending your ears. God bless.
Thank you, Ki, for explaining the meaning of the uniqueness of language. So today I'm glad to present my part on how the local people and foreigners' attitude towards the uniqueness of language in Malaysia. Next slide. So as we look into this new aspect of the presentation, the meaning of the attitudes are assessment made by people about things, thoughts, activities, and other entities. So attitudes can be either pessimistic or positive. So these our behaviors can be direct as a direct actions, and these direct actions are often considered as clear behaviors. So unconscious views are also can affect the actions and behavior, which are called the subconscious behaviors. So English also can influence consciously and unconsciously our. The influence can be seen in three different forms, which are social, relationship, unity, and discrimination. So we're going to look into these three one by one. Next slide. So the first form we're going to see is the first attitude we're going to see is social and relationships. So mixing the first language with English make it easier for people to talk with each other. It becomes one of the media that helps people to make friends with other people like over the internet or the social medias, and it's also easier to make language to communicate with people as Malaysians are multilingual people. It also becomes comfortable for individuals to communicate with each other when we use English. There are also no need to stress ourselves like in talking with a good grammar or pronunciation of a language. So according to Habiba in 1997, the speaker or the user of the language or himself, that is, what he feels most comfortable with and what he feels he can communicate more easily and what he wants. So the local people feels that to make friends and form new relationship with other local peoples using the non-standardized English. So however, the foreigners will have difficulty in forming a relationship with these local people that who have low educations. So this is because they may have some complex words or accent that can be difficult to understand for local people that are used by foreigners. It can make the individual they are able to connect themselves more when they share the same type of language and culture. So the conversation among the people, local peoples is also easier because they are familiar with the words. For instance, the words like law, la, lo, and ah, like just now Key said, it just flows into the conversation easily. And the people do not have to be aware word by word during the conversation. So next slide. So other than that, unity also can be influenced by English among local people and foreigner. Unity is very important in Malaysian culture because Malaysia is a patriotic country. English can becomes a form of unity among the Malaysian peoples. So it becomes like a landmark for Malaysians. I've seen from people from other countries such as India have taken aback by the way we mix Tamil languages with other languages together. For instance, the sentence "way macha," the word "macha" brings the word a form of friendship among other cultures because "macha" means someone who is we call close friends. So using the Manglish also have made the local people to have a sense of belonging to the culture and the country. So they will feel have their own group of community, and they may also have impact the degree of commitment and connection that a person has to for society and association using this Manglish. So according to Owando and Collier in 1985, Bangladesh actually encourages a feel of confidence and pride in learned cultures and languages. These can make Malaysians to unite as a community. So next slide. To continue, people from other countries will also have difficulty in uniting with local people. This is because they don't have the sense of the belonging. They'll have this feeling to be an outsider, even though they're in a friendship group. They will still feel as an outsider. So this can be very stressful for the foreigners. To avoid these kind of problems, actually Singapore, who have the same language as Manglish called Singlish, have made some rules. Like Singapore also has similar. Peter and Daniel in 2008 actually noted that Singlish analyzes continues to formally maintain schools as Singlish-free areas. So there will not there's a area that will not talk any Singlish. That will only talk in the good, very standardized English. So this will help the local people to improve the standardized English and able to unite and communicate with people from other country. So next slide. So on the other hand, there also can be a disadvantage in local people attitudes using the Manglish, so which is called discrimination. The government of Malaysia have recognized Manglish as an informal language. The use of Manglish also long has been questioned in terms of whether it's the purity of English language really creates a cool and nice phenomena or is butcher said. So it is definitely not encouraged to speak in places such as office and schools or class. And using Manglish actually eroded the use of our standardized English. The more they use Manglish, the more it's difficult for them to speak English with good fluent grammar and pronunciation. It also creates difficulties in differentiating between the right types and varieties of English. These can affect the people in academic of the people. For example, even though students are able to score good in marks in his or her written assignment, they may not able to score well in oral tests because there's influence of Manglish and they know only limited words in English. So according to Mahaj's 2007, they have mentioned, in fact, Manglish speakers have been identified as rural history and low status and uneducated in society. So next slide. When the use of formal English is have eroded among the local people, it can be very difficult for foreigners to survive in Malaysia, and they had to learn English in some way. They will not understand the words such as la because there is no meaning for them. So the foreigner may have interpret the local people have low education, and so because of the lack good of English. Even it's very common use among the youths nowadays, according to Abu Razan 2015. Students themselves often oppose the use of non-standardized English in educational environments, even though they use it in their daily lives in conversations. So that is all for me. So thank you for listening to me about the effect of local people and foreigners. So now Belinda will take over the next topic of our presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you, Roshini, for explaining the role of Manglish in local people attitude. And now I'm going to explain the relevant theories of the uniqueness of language in Malaysia. Okay. So there are three theories that I will be discussing, and these three theories are Wygotsky Theories, Limited Capacity Container, and the Intercultural Communication Theory. The first theory that I would like to explain is the Wygotsky Theory. So the Wygotsky Theory suggested that all children can be affected by the knowledge that passing down from their parents. And third, attitude and belief also can be passing down from one generation to another generation. So according to Wygotsky, language is the primary way by which adults communicate their knowledge to their children and let the children acquire behavior and the cognitive processes relevant to their own society. So one example that I can give is Singapore and Malaysia. So in fact, Malaysia is very similar. The Manglish is very similar to Singlish, but Manglish included more Malay words than Singlish. And third, it is undeniable that the culture can play an essential role in shaping the language, as no matter how close these two countries is, there's still a culture differences between the language and the culture between these two countries. Okay, so next. Okay, so the second theory that I'll be discussing is the limited capacity container. So it is reported that the bilingual will trigger a cognitive slowdown on the assumption that there is only so much data that the child can absorb at any one time. So having to learn two languages will burst the same cognitive fuses. That means the volume of the knowledge that can be absorbed by the child itself is limited. So in Malaysia, a child will about to start to learn another language other than their mother tongue at around 5 years old. So this is the age that the child has the chances to communicate with other people of different races other than their own family. But however, child will only have a limited capacity of word. And third, when the child is running out of vocab, it can lead them to use or to replace the words from other languages while they're talking. So for example, a child might say, I want makan, which is a sentence that mixed by English word and Malay words. So this is how Bahasa Rojak form. Okay, next. So now I'm going to share my last theory regarding to our topic today. And the last theory, which is the intercultural communication theory, looks into the communication between people with different cultural backgrounds. So it is a discipline that studies the communication across different cultures and social groups, or how culture affects communication. So in fact, Bahasa Rojak is a result of the intercultural communication theory. The intercultural communication arises when different groups of varied culture gather and convey information correctly and skillfully in a manner acceptable to the group diverse opinion. So this is not to say that the people with different culture will share the same ground rules, but it will make an individual focus on the contents of the message that is received, because the individual may use different type of cultural codes. So for example, if someone today is failed to connect the cultural codes, misunderstanding will happen. So for example, the example I give here is North American and Asian. So North Americans will view direct eye contact as a sign of honesty, but Asian will view direct eye contact as a sign of disrespect. So when an Asian go to the North American, and when people try to talk to him like by looking at his eyes, he might feel like not very comfortable, as he perceive this behavior is as a disrespectful behavior. So the same thing happened in Malaysia. So if today I would like to turn on the light, I might say open the light, because I might translate it directly from the Mandarin because I'm a Chinese. And that's why people will get wrong of me. So to avoid this problem, we must be careful when using the words and the pitch, tone, voice while talking to another person. Okay. So now it's time to conclude our topic today. So today in this topic, he have explained the meaning of the uniqueness of the language, and followed by Roshini, she explained the role of Manglish in local people attitude. And lastly, I explained the three theories in explaining the uniqueness of language in Malaysia. So to conclude, Bahasa Rojak becomes one of a form to unite the Malaysia people. So as what mentioned by Roshini and Ki, the local people also feel very comfortable when they communicate with Bahasa Rojak. However, certain words in Bahasa Rojak can be disrespectful to people, so the tone and the words needs to be used carefully when they speak. And besides, it also can be misunderstanding if wrongly use some words. So the cultural rules is important to learn. Okay, so before I end our presentation, I would like to leave you with this take-home message. The sum of human wisdom is not contained in any one language, and no single language is capable of expressing all form and degree of human comprehension. So in today's world, if we all are able to respect and know about other cultures and respect their belief and value, life would be easier for most of us, and we can learn a lot of good things from each other. I know that I have learned a lot of good things in these processes, and I will be continue to learn each and every day. So this bring me to the end of our presentation, and I hope all of you gain something from this presentation. So this is the reference list, and thank you for your listening. Now I'm going to pass my time to Ki again. Thank you.
Okay, back to me again. So just to remind the audience, in order to get the PDS credit, you are required to share this webinar to your FP. So just share and then ask your friends, everyone to just share only. And then don't forget to type anything, just type anything at the comment box at the side there. Okay, so moving on to the second group. Okay, so how unique and beautiful the cultures in Malaysia are. We know how beautiful our country is, and regardless of one's position, occupation, or relationship to us, we have our own special way of calling each other. It just makes no sense at all sometimes, but it's very friendly, and that's the way we Malaysians like it. So I'm not going to be explaining any further, because the next group will be explaining it in detail. Now let's warmly welcome the next group. For more fun,
Hello everyone. Our group, me, Shamini and Junyu, will be presenting about the social behavior that relates to everyone. So for those who not really understand about our culture, I will be showing the video about our Malaysia culture on how we call someone in many different ways. So now I will sharing the video. I'll share. Is anyone?
Hey, Matcha! Hi, Meow. Hi. Oh,
You call me Macha.
yeah lah, this is Malaysia culture ma.
Or in India, we people used to call our relatives as Macha. But y'all call everyone as Macha, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go lah. I bring you to Osman shop.
Bang, sini bang.
Kopi kosong satu. Saya punya. Oh, terima kasih ya. Makan punya saya nak itu Bahasa Rojak. Terima kasih ya.
Terima kasih bang.
Terima kasih bang.
Because in our culture, we often call the married woman as auntie.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Hey, bro. Your dompet is dropped. Bro. Your dompet is dropped here.
啊？我认识你吗？
Huh? Excuse me?
我认识你吗？为什么你要叫我 bro？
Because usually we call, in the Malaysian culture, we call bro and as your age.
Okay, thank you. Adik, pakai mask semua? Tak pakai mask ni.
Oh, sorry, abang.
Hey boss, how much is this, huh?
Hi, boss. This one is 3 ringgit.
What about this, boss?
This is 4 ringgit. One.
Aneh. Pintar yung nene. Alam.
So in Malaysia, we often greet a different group of people with different words, especially for the elders, such as pakcik or makcik. Okay, so the pakcik, especially the oldest people, we need to have a kind of the politeness that they should be greet first. But most of the Malaysian, they use the informal way to greet the others, like uncle or auntie. So there is some of the more formal way, which is like Mr., Mrs., and Miss, which is in Malay, Encik, Wan, and Cik. So if the others, unless they tell you like, you specifically, you can call me like, my name is Miao-Ling, or you can just call me Miao. Then you can speak to them more casually. Then next, the greeting exists globally. It is the important aspect of the politeness phenomenon. So before we speak to someone universally, we should greet them first. There is a variety type of the word perception, custom, and tradition that exists. So In the Europe, they will use the kiss the cheek as a greeting way, and for the China, they will be like they will use the handshaking way to like greet the people. For example, Xi Jinping, he is the president in China, and he always greet the others like shaking the hand to the others country, yeah, showing the greatness. Then the next one is the Indian culture. For the Indian culture, they have specifically a different. They will use like namaste as the kind of the as a kind of greeting way. And so at the WhatsApp, you can see they are actually have the namaste. They place their hand together, and then their palms to palms, and then which shows they are greeting to others. And in the Mongolia is quite different. They will embrace to each other. The elders, their hand is embraced at the up, and then for the youngest, their hand is embraced to the down. And next is for the Japan. Japan, they will use like bow their hand down a bit, and then to show their greeting. So next is about the MCR greeting way. So Salam Malaysia is a form of the national greeting in welcome the tourists. So Salam Malaysia instead of the handshaking. And if you want to avoid need to touch one other, you can actually use this Salam Malaysia as a way to greet others. And next. And in Western and Malaysia greeting, there is a different way, which is like Western, they will say, hello, how are you? I'm pleasant to meet you. But in the Malaysian greeting way, they will use the makcik, have you eaten? Adik, where are you going? Puan, what are you busy with? And then uncle, you still remain the same and do not look older than before. Like this all is the difference between the Western and Malaysia greeting way. So English culture may find that the Chinese greeting a bit unacceptable because it's a bit offensive. They are caring about the personal matters. Like the uncle, they will say like, oh, you still remain the same and do not look older than before. So this is a bit like concern about the personal matters. And although they are quite appropriate and friendly in front of the Chinese culture, but they still feel a bit uncomfortable. Especially for this, uncle, you still remain the same and do not look older than before. So when you want to show the concern for others' welfare, and at the same time, you need to maintain the hearer their positive face instead of the negative face. And you need to observe their face once you communicate with them. And next. Saya share your video. Yo ma.
So, So now I'm going to explain on the major difference between Western and Asian culture. Namely, I'm going to compare the Western culture between Malaysian culture. So in Western culture, usually they will give each other a smile or greet with a hi.
and they will shake hands only in some formal situations. Like for example, in America, it is an ideal approach to address them by using their titles such as Mr., Mrs., or Miss, unless if one is being invited to do otherwise. So once they are introduced to someone, the Americans prefer to be called by their first name. And whereas in French culture, they used to greet people by saying bonjour, which means that good day when we translate the word into English. And here in Malaysia, we are morally and culturally expected to be called using the ordinary Malaysian titles, or more like a family title such as uncle, auntie, maci. Maci means auntie in Malay, and kakak means elder sister in Malay when they are addressing someone, namely if let's say they are older than us. And Malaysian culture is very unique, like regardless of one's position, occupation, or relationship to us, we have our own special way of calling each other. Maybe it might make no sense at all, but it's friendly, and that's the way we Malaysians like it. So people in Malaysia also like to refer people using words such as brother, friend, and boss. So the widespread practice of using these terms instead of using their name when we are addressing each other in Malaysia originally stems from a place of showing respect more than anything else. So next, I'm going to talk about one of the common terms used by we Malaysians. So matcha is one of the most common terms used by us Malaysians. So like not to be confused with the Japanese word for green tea. So matcha is the Tamil word for brother-in-law, but the usage has stretched beyond that to mean brother and friend. So Malaysians typically call their male friends as matcha all the time, even if they aren't married to their friend's brother or sister. So, though this term is reserved for men, some people have begun using it for female friends as well. So, matcha is also can be shortened to cha, and this term means that it's a term for affirmation of the bond between the friends. And also, when the friend call each other matcha or cha, they are basically saying that I'll be there for you if you need me no matter what. So next, the word is tauke, which is a Hokkien word for boss. So when you meet an older man, you can call him boss or tauke, but it's best used for older Chinese men as a sign of respect. So for the word boss, you can use it basically on any person you meet on the street, from the cashier at the store, from the waiter, taxi driver, newspaper vendor. Anyone is a boss here in Malaysia. So it might seem a little weird at first as well, but you'll notice that most of these terms, these nicknames are used just to maintain the culture of respect. Next. So next is the terms which is known as taiko, abang, or ane. So all these words just mean older brother in three languages, as if in Cantonese is taiko, and abang is in Malay, and ane is in Tamil. So the words for big brother are used as a sign of respect as well. So again, anyone older than you can be a taiko, abang, or ane. So using taiko when you speak to a Chinese person, and abang for a Malay person, and ane for an Indian person would be the most logical way, but also you can extend the words to people of other races as well. So personally, I'll use the word abang or ane most of the time when I speak to the strangers, especially if let's say they are elder than me, because mostly to show that I really respect them for their age. So you can do what suits you. Next. So next, the word is amoy. So amoy means Chinese girlfriend, but as always, Malaysians have extended the terms to refer to any young ladies. So the term is quite often used by older people when speaking to younger women, especially between strangers when they don't know each other by name. And you will notice that the word amo is used by the older Chinese men when speaking to any younger woman, or by any man of other races when speaking to a Chinese woman. And again, when we are using this term, we really have to be very careful with the tone of our voice, because with the tone of our voice and what we are trying to convey to the people. So for example, if you use as such like, excuse me, Amon, can you tell me on how to get to KLCC from here? So if you use this way, it is acceptable and it shows that you are respecting them. But whereas when you use with the term and intonation as such, Amoya, you look very good and sexy today. So if you use this term with this kind of impression, sometimes the Malaysian can take this as in a very offensive manner. They can misunderstood that you're trying to get flirty with them. So when you're using this term, you really have to be very careful with the choice of word and the way you're trying to convey the message.
So Malaysia also call the girls and boy Leng Lui or Leng Zai. The Leng Lui and Leng Zai is come from the Cantonese word with the meaning of pretty girl, and then for the Leng Zai is mean that it's the handsome boy. So Leng Lui and Leng Zai is more commonly used among the Malays and Indian. So in Malaysia, where is this scenario will happen? For my personal experience is that there is few time I go to the Bahasa Rojak, and then there is always someone call me Leng Loi, which means that they call me to buy their chicken. They are actually chop the chicken. So, but he actually is not calling me. He is calling my mother. Maybe because I got no money to buy the chickens. So next, the smiling is also one kind of the politeness. So politeness is showing the awareness of the need of the preserved face. When we're smiling to others, which showing a kind of politeness towards the others. When we interact with someone, we actually also concerned about our good public image. So we want to show them we want to save our face to keep our reputation. For example, they say, understand the various strategy for interactional behavior to achieve the satisfaction of certain wants. The ones is related to the politeness are the ones of the face. Safe face is to keep our reputation and avoid others lost respect to us. And then this phase is also something that is emotionally invest and that can be lost, maintained, and enhanced. And when we try to save another phase, we also pay attention to their negative phase one or positive phase one. For example, for the negative phase, when we interact with someone and they show the negative phase, we actually need to apologize for any wrong. So maybe you can say, excuse me, Puan, any problem I can help. If they show the positive phase one, which means that they need to seek the approval from the others and need to be connected.
So in Malaysia, we often smile a lot, whether to our friends, family, and even strangers. So research has stated that through smiling, psychological signals such as positive emotions are being delivered. For example, whenever someone smiles at you, of course the normal type of smile, it will make you feel warm and welcome. So this can be one of the factors that can form the concept of us to address others as our relatives. Next. So person perception is the process where we form impressions of others, which includes judgment of traits such as appearance, personality, and attractiveness. Study has shown that the facial expression provides judgment and forms impression. So how can this relate to the situation that my friends had explained just now? For example, whenever you walk into a store and the shopkeeper greets you with a warm welcome saying, hello ade, so you tend to trust the shopkeeper and call them auntie or uncle back.
So there is also the culture difference in the person perception. Person perception, which refers to the process of forming the impression of other. So if we have the social attitude of smiling or respect to others, people will form a good impression. So now let's compare what is the cultural difference between the American and Asian. So in Asian culture, smiling may lead to the negative attribution. So you can see the American believe the smiling face are also more intelligent than the neutral face. But the Asian believe that the neutral face are more intelligent than the smiling face. So for example, during the job application, if people keep smiling at the interviewer, then how is their feeling and thought? They will think, why is this person keeps smiling? And then they will have the bad impression. So not all the smile is interpret in the same way across the culture. There is also the gender difference in the greeting response. So Malaysia females such as Puan, Makcik, Miss, they will feel embarrassed if someone use the kiss their cheek as a greeting way. Because for the Malaysian woman, you need to wait to see if she extend her hand first before offering to shake. And then the physical contact between man and woman is not permitted in all the circumstances because this method is not a characteristic gesture for our culture, which is the Malaysia culture.
So next, I'm going to explain on the cultural stereotypes and prejudice. So cultural stereotypes and prejudice can influence our cognition and our behavioral response. So cultural stereotypes and prejudice may cause people to negatively judge a person, which is the cognitive part, due to their membership in a certain group, which in return may affect the way people treat each other, which is the behavior response, and it could influence the way we interact with one another. So belief as such might cause people to make any offensive comments or act in a very discriminatory manner, which could be very disrespecting to the other people from other cultures. So cultural stereotypes and prejudice may also can lead to fundamental attribution error. So fundamental attribution error is mean that it's the faulty rationalization of other people's behavior to their internal traits. Which means, like, for example, we may have this false belief that this person will be like this or they will have this kind of characteristics just because they are from this particular group or they are from this particular ethnicity background. So it might create an impact on the people's future behavior. It might influence the way we interact and treat each other. So now I'm going to explain on how this unique way of calling each other influence the Malaysians uh, the way Malaysians interact with one another. So this uniqueness plays a role in fostering positive attitude, feelings, beliefs, and behaviors towards other people. Like for example, when two strangers from different cultural or ethnic background call or greet each other using family link, such as uncle, auntie, brother, or sister, it might initiate a good friendly bonding between them. And also they might get an opportunity to get to know each other better as well as leave a good impression on each other. So this might help the people not to hold any negative judgment about people just because they are a member from a certain culture or ethnicities, and as well as it increase the social interaction between people from different walks of life. And apart from that, we strangers call each other using family links. It might decrease the possibilities to make any offensive comments about one another. So when Malaysians call each other using terms that are usually commonly called within family members, it brings closeness between one another as well as it fosters a positive attitude towards one another.
So there is a key uniqueness in Malaysia where we almost call auntie every day. So what does it mean, this auntie? Auntie is used in the local discourse to address older female across the different language. So which reflect the acculturation occurs to a context. So what does it mean the acculturation occurs? which is the different traditional cultural norm. They are mixed together with the language, which is like Malay, Chinese, and India. We are mix our language, which we also call the auntie everywhere. But guys, you need to remember the auntie is much more than uncle. Is an insulting word sparked out at the older woman, such as the American woman, because they have the cultural stereotype that the auntie is the older, unattractive, for the duty and not worthy of notice woman. So when you call someone auntie, the woman will be more sensitive, especially for the American woman. So there is also a cultural difference in how we perceive the others. For the Asian, when we call other, that maybe have the reason behind. So people in the different culture make the different assumption about the people around them. Let's compare the Asian culture and the Western culture. The cause of the behavior may be motivated by some other things in the Asian culture. So when somebody call me Adet, then I will think like, oh, because I'm the youngest, that's why you call me Adet. But in the Western culture, they will think like, oh, you are friendly, and they will link this to friendly and politeness. They will not link to the reason behind it. And Western culture is focused on the behavior, automatically link them to the personality. So they will link to the good attitude, then link to the kindness and friendliness.
So, stereotype refers to the judgment that we make about an individual that is often caused by a mental state associating member of a particular group. Stereotypes are caused by the categorization of our mind, and this will be explained in later slides. So one of the reasons that people may hold stereotypes and prejudice is that they view the member of groups as different from them. We will become concerned that our interaction with people from other racial groups will be unpleasant, and this anxiety may lead us to avoiding interacting with people from those groups. So we often find ourselves listening to stereotypes involving our activities and interests, whether we discover them through media, personal experience, or stories. For example, like the smart student is unpopular, or the athlete student isn't intelligent. So when we start accepting these statements as reality, we start dividing ourselves accordingly. It is time we understand that these stereotypes are wrong. So stereotypes seems to be dividing our community, but why are we Malaysians still so close to each other and we address each other as our relatives? So this can be caused by contact hypothesis. People will be more favorable towards others when they learn to see those other people as more similar to them, as closer to themselves, and be more concerned about them. So in Malaysia, we are easily able to get close to the different groups and understand them, which will lead us to a decreasing in stereotyping and prejudice.
So now let's take a look at how this unique culture affects or impacts the Malaysian society. So Malaysians, as a member of a multicultural community, are usually very concerned and careful about how they communicate with people of all backgrounds with respect. So the unique culture of calling each other with terms which resembles family relationship in Malaysia serves as an ethical foundation for politeness. So by addressing strangers as abang, boss, makcik, pakcik, or uncle and auntie, we Malaysians are showing our politeness and respect towards the others. So personally, I'll quite often use the terms ane, abang, auntie, uncle, or kakak like that when speaking with strangers, just mainly to show my respects towards them. And when we Malaysians relate each other by addressing others using family titles, it manifests and resembles a close attachment or commitment of a member in their group. Like for example, when our fellow colleagues or classmates like call us using terms such as brother, sister, or boss, we will have a strong sense of belonging, uh, which claims that we belong to this group, so which in return it might increase the interpersonal relatedness among one another. So in other words, it evident that all Malaysians are related to one another and considered as a family of the same group regardless of their ethnicity, social status and cultural background. And this also shows that Malaysians' moral value, namely everyone are going to receive the respect and be treated equally regardless of one's gender, age, social status and ethnicity. So, and also besides, it helps Malaysians from various culture and ethnicity background to live harmoniously under the same roof.
So in the Asian culture, we are focused on the respect, which is treat other with respect. Like the makcik or pakcik is a kind, we need to have a kind of respect when we greeting them. So when we talk about respect, in the Latin culture, for example, the smile may be used to say excuse me or please. The older Chinese Malaysian may lower their gaze out of the respect during the greeting. And we will smile when meeting the people. If the person from the another culture does not return you a greeting smile, it doesn't indicate their hostility or they have the bad manners. So Malaysia, we often have this sunny personality that we have the smiling is a gesture that reserved for the informal occasion. And we also feel connected and the one will be appreciated when we're smiling to other. We will accept somebody for who they are, even when they are you don't agree with them or they are different from you. So this respect actually can build a feeling of trust, safety, and also well-being.
So now I'm going to talk on the way we call each other and relate it to the aggression. So relating someone to us by calling them boss, bro, or sister, it may reduce the aggressive behavior under a very hostile environment or heated arguments, and also promoting the way we deliver our dissatisfaction or messages about something while increasing the problem solving abilities. So for instance, when someone convey their unsatisfactory feelings in a very polite manner by using terms such as boss or brother under a heated argument, it might enhance the deliverance of one's messages as well as prevents one from losing face. Like for example, when we go to any mama shop and order for teh tarik, but the employee working over there accidentally brought us teh o instead of teh tarik. If we tell him in a very polite manner saying that, brother, I ordered for teh tarik, but you brought me teh o. So when we convey our message in a very subtle and polite manner, it's going to resolve the situation in a very calm way. But if let's say we tell him like, I order for teh tarik, but you bring me teh o, you can't even do your job properly, is it? So when we convey our messages in this kind of tone, the employee may feel hurt and embarrassed. So through this example, we can know that the way we Malaysians call each other not only enhanced the way we deliver our message, it also it also resolves the conflicts in a calm manner instead of blowing them up out of proportion.
So now a concept is mentioned just now. So now what is a concept? A concept is known to be a mental categorization that we use to classify situations, object, behaviors, and people that share a similar property. All these categories help us in categorization. So people categorize events, objects, situation, and people. So concept formation and categorization provide us with a way to organize the diversity of the world around us into a more finite number of categories. Once such concept has formed, we can access the individual stimulus through the category and gather information about that stimulus based on that category. How can this relate to us calling everyone we met as our relative? So here's an example. Remember when we are small and we are being brought to visit someone we don't know by our parents, we will often be asked to call the people we met as auntie. And therefore, a concept of calling auntie is formed and is often reinforced by the phrase that follow after we greet a stranger. This can be one of the explanations to explain how we form the concept of calling strangers uncle and aunt. So next, what I'm going to talk about is conformity. As we all know, Asian culture are more leaning towards the collectivist culture, where we emphasize more on the cohesiveness of the group rather than our own self. Conformity is the yielding to real or imaginary social pressure. In a collectivist culture, individuals tend to have higher conformity. Imagine this scenario. We often being told to call someone uncle and auntie whenever we meet. Do you think it would be okay when we call someone we met as love or darling? No, right? So calling uncle and auntie has become a culture for we Malaysians, and we often conform to this culture of addressing people as uncle and auntie.
So now I'm going to talk on what we can learn through this cross-cultural experience. So it can be concluded that the way we Malaysians call each other is definitely unique, as well as it is being done collectively. In other words, all Malaysians generally adopt and follow this culture. So since Malaysia is an incredibly diverse country where it consists of multicultural society, the way we call each other definitely enhance the unity among the Malaysians. And also, there's no social penalty for calling someone older than you by using their first name, but it's always a good practice to follow the social cultural tradition of a country. And in Malaysia, respecting your elders is the paramount. Thanks. So, our take-home message is that we Malaysian may not be related by blood, but the way we call each other shows that we are all one big family. So, even though we are not related by blood, even though we are not family by blood, but we are family by heart. So, with this, we end our presentation. Thank you.
So now I will be introducing the next group. They are presenting about the social connection of the cultural diversity in Malaysia. So if you are interested in how the Malay, Chinese, and Indian, they come together in Malaysia, then you should listen to their presentation. Each culture has their different celebration in their own country. Those celebrations are cultural and holistic significance. It was also a time to bring the family together. So they were explaining on how the Malaysians celebrate the festival in our country. What is the most popular celebration? What is the unique to Malaysia? So let's welcome Koma, Min, and Hais.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Before before I'm going to present about my topic, we asked three persons regarding Malaysian festival and what their opinion regarding that. For that, I would like to express my gratitude to Miss Azira, my teammates Amina's friend, Miss Esther Hui, my other teammate Hai's close friend, and Mr. Sasindran Balagopalan, Analaki Balagopalan, my uncle, for their kindness letting us taking this video, and they are by using their valuable time to answer this question by their smile. And this video was fully videotaped in our home with the pandemic restriction that led us to stay at home. So without further delay, let us watch this video.
Celebrate as Hari Raya, and based on my family traditions, we would go to the house where the elderly are, have our specific family dishes that we usually cook, recipes that have been passed down from generations.
Firecracker before the first day of Chinese New Year. Like we always have the reunion for our family, the parents, and also our relatives, our cousin, get the ang pao, especially we can receive about from the parents.
My Deepavali celebration I really enjoy, very happy and very joy.
Okay, honestly, Eid was very important for me because it's just all about quality time, and that's very important to me because we're all so busy and we rarely get to have time together and come together.
If you are not married, actually, from me, the single is not married, then I can get the umpire. Actually, is for the children. We can, even you are 20 years old above or not or below. If you are single, not married, then you can earn the money. We can gather together at the, especially the different stage at here. Meaningful for me because it's not quite not too much time can have like this kind of reunion.
My Deepavali celebration, more the meaning for me is a family. Because this is the time we can gathering all my brother, sister, everybody.
Is Christmas, especially the gifts part, and where you just sit down together and you count down to Christmas by celebrating other festivals as well.
Type person, I just know the activities, how it works to via the photograph or the video to saw it only and never have go to there to feel the environment, to feel all the things how it works.
I like to participate on the Gawai. It's very nice, very joy to
Okay.
listen. One thing is a different culture.
Next slide, Min. Okay, now it's our topic, the cultural diversity of Malaysia by Amina and me, Komaleswaran Laki Mohanan and Aishwarya Anapropan Sivan. Next slide, Min. Okay, today's table of content will be divided into part A, part B, and part C. Part A will be focusing on the historical background, Malaysian cultural structure. Part B will be focusing 3 main festivals. Part C will be the summary and the take-home message. Next slide, Min. What makes Malaysia a unique country? The answer is its cultural diversity. So, what makes this cultural diversity exist in Malaysia in the first place? It will bring us to, next slide, Min, part A, which is the historical background of Malaysia. Next slide, Min. Before independence, I would say that Malaysians will experience some kind of individualistic culture whereby the Industrial Revolution makes tin oils be called biji timah in Bahasa and rubber having high demands. The tin oils for canning purpose and rubber for vehicles and everything. So British started to exploit these natural resources as Tanah Melayu, which is Malaysia, before the independence, which was known that, been rich with this. However, the rubber is not rich in Tanah Melayu, as Mr. H.N. Ridley is the one that bring from Kew Garden, London to Singapore, then Singapore to mainland and to Kuala Kangsar, which will beginning the era of rubber plantation in Tanah Melayu that time. So British need a lot of manpower to build railway tracks, mining the tin oils and rubber tapping. So British bring Indians from India using system Kangani and Chinese from China using system Contra. British practice Dasa, Pecah and Perintah, whereby they separate the races in a specific location. Muslim in villages, Chinese in town areas, and Indian in estate, which is the rubber plantation area. This make unity is difficult to be achieved among these three races. That's why I say it's more focused on the individualistic culture. Next slide, Min. After independence, Pelembagaan Malaysia, which is the highest law, has been introduced. It consists of 183 perkara. It stated that Islam and Bahasa Melayu been officially known as federal religion and national language respectively. Besides that, other religions also can be practiced as long as it doesn't disturb the peace and the harmony of the nation. Malay, Chinese, and Indian classify as the majority, while other ethnics in Sabah and Sarawak categorized as minority. Every race has to be live in unity, as Malaysian government has granted freedom of speech. However, Malaysian has limited freedom of speech in 3 points, whereby the first thing, Bahasa Melayu as bahasa kebangsaan, as the national languages. We couldn't talk about that. And the second one is the Islamic affair. We will call that Hal Ehwal Agama Islam in Bahasa. And the third one is the Monarchical Institusi Beraja atau Sultan. We have the limited freedom of speech in these 3 points. So the second one is the freedom of choosing religion only after 18 years old. However, it's not applicable for Muslim people, as when they get their IC after staying in Malaysia for 12 years, it will stated under their photographic image of their IC that Islam. It will not appear for most Indian and Chinese. So it's restrict Muslim to choose their religion after 18 years old. And the third one is the freedom to vote and choose their leader. That's why the government has been advising the public to register for voting. Next slide, me. Now, Malaysian culture and cultural structure. Next slide, me. Malaysian values. What is values? Values is something that people are proud and like to share with other people while they are communication. This communication can be separated into 2 categories, whereby it's verbally communication and non-verbal communication. So the first thing is the gentleness. We have the budi pekerti, whereby we will use a kind of soft tone. We're not going to use the rough one when we talk to elder people. And the second thing is the politeness. We have budi bahasa budaya kita, whereby we use some kind of appropriate language, not appropriate languages when talking to other people. The third one is the social hierarchy. Before independence, it stated that British practice dasar pecahan perintah, right? So it lead the races to think that they have no point to raise to the high hierarchy. But however, after independence, this social hierarchy can be achieved. They can raise up their status by their perseverance and hard works. So the fourth one is the courtesy. Malaysians have this kind of sharing is caring, whereby they would like to investigate, they would like to address other people like, are you okay? Is everything okay? That kind of thing. And the fourth thing is the modesty. We will use some kind of, we will bow to elder people when we are crossing them, and we are not going to Malaysian not going to show their status and everything. They would like to have a simple life. And the sixth one is the face. We Malaysian will have a smiley face whenever we are meeting others people. It will lead other people to easily friend with us in an awkward situation also, and they have some kind of trust and reciprocal relationship with us. And finally, the diversity. The diversity, even though Malaysian has a lot of religions and culture, they will still live in unity without any argument or fighting. Next, I will pass to Amina for explaining the common belief and the norm of Malaysia. Thank you and take care.
So, let us learn about some of the common beliefs of Malaysians. So, firstly is the physical. So, let me explain what is beliefs. Now, beliefs is the things that people believe in and that is influenced by their religion. So, firstly is the physical contact. One of the common beliefs about the physical contact is, especially for Muslims, and Muslims are the majority in Malaysians. So, for Muslims, it is not permissible for a man and a woman to shake hands. Therefore, an alternative is that we put our hands on our chest and slightly bow to show a sign of respect. This is also, as Meow mentioned in her slide, called as Salam Malaysia. And the second is silence. Pausing before giving a response indicates that a person has applied an appropriate thought towards the question that's being asked. This signifies politeness and respect. Now, the third one is the head. We have this belief that the head is considered an organ that is considered as rude and inconsiderate if you touch a person's head. So the fourth one is pointing. Now, avoid pointing with your index finger and use your open hand instead, or use your thumb, as it is more polite. And lastly is beckoning. For example, if you want to call someone over, it is encouraged that you beckon with your full hands instead of using an individual finger. So next, let's explore some of the norms of Malaysia. Now, firstly is the norms is a learned behaviour as the result of environment interaction. So Malaysians have come together and somewhat over the time, they develop this kind of norms. So the Malaysian norms, firstly, is the greetings. Now, greetings are very important in Malaysia and are thought to indicate the respect you will show an individual from then on. When greeting a group of people, the oldest person should be greeted first. And it is usually elders are usually addressed as pakcik, which is uncle, or makcik, which is auntie, out of respect. You may similarly be referred to in this way by people younger than yourself, which means someone younger than you may refer to you as pakcik or makcik, or sometimes even kakak or abang. Now, the second is gift giving. It is polite for a recipient to initially refuse a gift before accepting it, because this demonstrates that they are not being greedy. And the third one is visiting. Although the host may specify a time for a visit, they do not always expect a guest to arrive at the designated time. I think this is quite common among Malaysians. And offering a small gift for the hostess, such as fruits, sweets, or crafts, will be greatly appreciated. These gestures are known as buah tangan, which when you translate it, it means fruit of the hands. Now, the fourth one is eating. The norms in eating is that some races eat with their hands, and this is considered a norm, especially among Malays and Indians. And another is Malays, which are commonly Muslims, would prefer halal food. So this is something important to remember whenever you invite your friends over and they are Muslims, so you should remember that they do not eat anything that is not halal. And another norm that we do is that when sitting at a table with an elderly, it is appropriate to offer the food to them first. It is a show of respect towards them. So next we'll move on to part B, which we explained by Hais.
So good afternoon, everyone. So now we'll be going into the popular festivals celebrated in Malaysia. So first we'll be looking into, next slide please. Yeah. First we'll be looking into the types of festivals. Mostly we'll be emphasizing on the popularity one, and then followed by the traditional clothes, and lastly the food. So next, the types of festival. The first festival that we are going to look into is Thai Pusam. So for this year, Thai Pusam has already been celebrated, and it was celebrated in the 28th of January this year. So the Thai Pusam is all about faith endurance and penance. This is when the devotees will show their gratitude, appreciation towards their deity. Usually during Thaipusam, you can find people using a lot of yellow color clothing and all. So now let's see the common activities during Thaipusam. One of it is Radam, or known as chariot. You can see it's decorated with full of colors, lights, flowers around the Lord, among the Lord statue. And then if you are lucky enough, you get to see that there will be cows dragging that chariot along the street. But usually in these kind of places, there will be people or the devotees will be dragging the chariot. Usually, during this Radam time, there will be musical bands, or in Tamil known as Urumi, will be played along to make the festival look more livelier and give us that feel. And apart from that is Palkudam, as you can see at the second pictures, where this women's or men's devotees will carry pot filled with milk on their head and then walk towards the temple and report on the deity as a fulfillment of their vows. So now let's see Chinese New Year, just recently celebrated. It is celebrated on the 12th of February this year, and this New Year is held to honor the ancestors, household duties, and this is also a part for to bring their families together. And the best part of Chinese New Year is during the starting of the Chinese New Year, if you see in the video, it is mentioned that they will play firecrackers. And usually, as we know, firecrackers is like to indicate fun and all. But as we did more research and to find out about why they play crackers during Chinese New Year is to actually ward off evil spirit from entering their home and destroying Chinese New Year. And apart from that, they will use a lot of printed scrolls of lucky Chinese word, to bring in prosperity. So, what are the common activities done during Chinese New Year? Yes, Yisang. Yisang is, we can say, like fish meat salad filled with many colorful condiments, and usually they will do toss it very high as a sign of the more higher you toss, the more prosperity you'll get. So during Chinese New Year, if I had a chance, I would toss it as high as possible to gain more prosperity. You wouldn't know. So next, let's look into Hari Raya. Okay, so Hari Raya in this year will be celebrated on the 13th May. Usually, this will be celebrated after the 1 month fasting, and it marks the end of Ramadan. And this is when all the families gather together, as a family reunion, reconciliation, just to have that moment with your family and to cherish that festival. And this is also as a sign of gratitude towards God. So, what are the common activities found during Hari Raya? Yes, one of it is prayers with family. Usually, families during the Raya day, the family will gather in a room together, either in the hall. Usually, it will be happening in the hall. Then they will say their prayers together. This can also strengthen their bond and also their faith towards the God. And apart from that is asking forgiveness from elder people. Usually they do that by salam, and hugging the elderly just to ask for their forgiveness and also to live a better life in the future. So let's go to Deepavali. Deepavali for this year will be celebrated in the 4th November. Okay, so this festival is to signify the triumph of good over evil. And as like other festival, this festival also emphasizes on family reunion, where families from all over the world will gather together and just cherish that moment with their family, be full of happiness. And Deepavali, apart from that, Deepavali is also known as the festival of lights. So we can further explain this in the common activities. Yes, so during the night before the day of Deepavali, we will do prayers to the ancestors and ask them to eat the food, and as a belief that if they eat the food, then they will bless us and also bless the festival itself. Other than that is if you can see in the next picture is kolam, or some people will call it as rangoli. Okay, this is done. There are two reasons. First reason is to allow the goddess to come and bless our family. The second reason is to allow these tiny insects and like these ants to come and feed on them. So we are like giving these insects food to eat. It's also counted as a blessing. So now let's move on to Christmas. Yeah, everybody's excited for Christmas. It is celebrated on the 25th December every year. Not only this year, but every year. And Christmas is celebrated to remember the birth of Jesus. And also like other festivals, it is also for family reunion, is support for reconciliation. So among the common activities that done during Christmas is next slide please. Is firstly they will visit church with family and say prayers. On this usually happens on the night of the Christmas day, and yeah, they'll go to the church together with their family and say prayers. So next is decorating Christmas tree. A lot of children, especially those who are celebrating Christmas, they'll be very excited when it comes to this. They will decorate the Christmas tree and also fill the Christmas tree up with presents and then open it on Christmas Day or Christmas night, just to cherish and make the festival more livelier. So now let's go to the next part, the second part, which is the traditional clothes. So first we'll be looking into the Indians. So as you can see from the pictures, Indians they wear kurta, saris, and if you see on the right, the picture on your right, this is known as kurti, a simple kurti. So usually they'll use this for any of their festivals like weddings or any religious festivals that are going on in their household or maybe outside also. Next is Malays. As you can see in this picture, their traditional cloth is baju kurung, but in this picture they are using is jubah, and it will be paired with a very fancy scarf. Just to, it really looks so fashionable and looks so beautiful. And some of them they use this on a daily basis, and some of them they use this only for festival occasions. So now we'll be looking into Chinese. So as what we learn from the civic and also from other places is Chinese traditional clothes is cheongsam. However, because of the trend nowadays, or I don't know, even my friends themselves, they even told me that they don't really use cheongsam anymore during festivals or what. They tend to use red color Western clothes, to make them look more trendy, look better, I guess. But I still feel cheongsam looks the best as the best look. So next we are talking about food. Hope no one gets hungry after seeing this. So the traditional food for Deepavali is usually you can see biryani rice, mutton curry, chicken curry. Like if you see in this photo, there's also udang sambal here. So apart from this, you can also see thosai, idli, achar, and the list just goes on. So what about for Hari Raya? What is it? If you can see from the picture, it is lemang, ketupat, lontong, kuah kacang, rendang, sambal. Oh my god, the list just goes on and on. And this really looks so tempting. So what about for the Chinese? Wow. And this is known as makan besar. This is where the Chinese the Chinese family will gather together, and have a mixed large meal together on the night before Chinese New Year. And the best part of this food is each element, each type of food on this dish has its own significant value. So it's really, really very fascinating about this. So next, I'll pass my slides to Amina.
So, as a summary, what is the relationship between identity and festivals? Well, an identity is formed by a socially and constructed fabric. Therefore, with festivals, it is to rediscover and understand one's identity. Can you imagine having no festivals at all? We would have forgotten the historical events that had shaped us as a member of a specific group to be who we are today. Individuals have a sense of identity within themselves that is also a part of the collective identity, which means the identity of oneself when within a particular group, such as being a general Malaysian or a particular race. Why is this important to us then? Because without knowing or celebrating our festivals, it would be to ignore the treasure of history passed down from generations until this very day that is somewhat already a part of ourselves or our background. So to ignore or to not care about these celebrations would be to somewhat deny a part of ourselves. Now, let's see, the take-home message is that you are unique once you learn to embrace your roots. This means that our identity will not be as beautiful as if we don't embrace the origins of how we become to be, which is by our roots, meaning the diverse culture we're a part of. Now, I'd like to end my group's presentation by presenting a short clip from our interviewees. Let's take a look.
Put yourself at any harm or your family at any harm. Just gather in a small group and be safe and have fun.
Use our smartphone, just use our smartphone to have a video call to our parents, relatives, or cousin or friends, especially if you are not at the same stage or city or country. If people you are in the same stage or same city, we can go there to the other house, but maybe we just have to control maybe not more than 10 people. I guess it also can. So then we can video call to see each other to take a video. Just very simple way only. And it's very safe to us in the MCO. So this is my advice. Thank you.
I want to advise must use the mask. Always wash the hand, and more important, the distance.
So thank you for listening to my group. Finally, we have come to the end of this presentation. Before we end this webinar, I would like to express my gratitude towards all the three groups presenting. As a summary, Group 1 told us about the language in social settings in Malaysia, which gave us an insight towards how Malaysians communicate with each other. Then, Group 2 presented about the ways of greetings in the Malaysian culture, which perfectly captures the uniqueness of Malaysian greeting styles. And lastly, Group 3, from my group, presented about the Malaysian identity in the various festivals all year round that expresses the diversity and the color of Malaysian background. And a huge, huge thank you to everyone that had joined and watched this webinar until the end. We hope you enjoyed our presentations and have learned more about the Malaysian culture. Have a nice day ahead and goodbye.